你好，大家好。对不起，我的中文说的不好，所以还有翻译的人吗？可以说英文吗？你都知道。Okay, just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Alright, so my name is Solomon. I'm the founder of Allegorithimic. We're a development studio based in Taiwan, Taipei. So I'm going to do a quick introduction just about myself and about the studio so you understand a little bit more about what we do. If I'm speaking too fast, just let me know and I'll slow down. Okay, so I've worked in the games industry for over 12 years. I've been credited with over 30 titles. It's a long list. I've worked in both full game development and outsourcing. I've worked for companies like Guerrilla Games, for Killzone Shadowfall and Ninja Molecule, like Little Big Planet. And I've also worked in outsourcing. I used to work for a Taiwanese company called Expert. I think their Chinese name is Le Shenanti. And I was their studio art director for about 5 years in mainland China. So I decided to, start up my own studio. And these are some of the titles that I've worked on. My most recent title is Street Fighter V. I also worked on Killzone Shadowfall, The Last of Us. Most of these titles are as an art director. You can see there's some links on the slides. If you look me up or look those games up on YouTube, and if you've got the patience, you can find my name inside the credits list. So the company's name is called Playarium. We were founded in 2015, and we are now 1 year old. That was of yesterday. And we were invited to go to GDC to share with Allegorithimic and a few other studios how we've been using their software. And actually, before I start, do any of you know what substance designer is? Just raise your hands if you know what it is. Okay. Does anyone know what procedural texturing is? Just raise up your hands. Okay, alright, so that's going to change a little bit of what I'm going to say. So let's start with a movie first. Okay, so just a little bit of a backstory. So Allegorithimic, they're a French studio. They make a handy piece of software called Substance Designer and Substance Painter. It's a piece of software that is designed to empower artists to texture faster and in a way that allows you to scale up or scale down without losing the quality. So I don't know if you can see the screen, it's quite small. We were invited to talk about how we were using their software to make some games. Now, the games that we're working on, unfortunately, we are not allowed to talk about it yet. If we were to say the name, I think I would be shot by some of the snipers watching me. But we were presenting alongside studios like Naughty Dog, who were presenting Uncharted 4, Activision, who were presenting Call of Duty, Ubisoft for Rainbow Six. These are some of the biggest game studios in the world, and we were honored to be invited to present with these guys. So what we were presenting was ways that we were using Substance Painter to texture large environments. And it was something that, that both Allegorithimic, the software makers, and the other studios were surprised that we were able to do. They didn't realize that you could just stick in these big environments and start to texture them. So here's some screenshots of what we presented. Because we couldn't present the actual thing that we were working on, we had to make this very quick demonstration. I think we took about 2 weeks to put this together. That was with Inshallah and another one of our artists, so thank you very much for that. And what I'm going to do, and I hope that the screen can support it, is I'm just going to open the file inside Substance Painter. So I'm going to ask you to help me hold this microphone. should. Okay. So you all see that screen? You have to excuse the resolution. I'm going to make some adjustments now. So please bear with me while I try and make this a little bit more easier for you guys to see. So let's just hide the user interface and we'll just go 3D only. So this is what we were demonstrating. It was demonstrating how we can use this particular 3D software to very quickly texture environments in a non-destructive way. So I'll explain a few things very quickly. So what you see here is some Lego blocks. These Lego blocks are what we use to put together this entire environment. So there's only a few assets, not that much. And one of the reasons why we kind of lay it by the side here like this is just so that we can see, you know, what does this material look like by itself, as well as have a look at what does it look like, you know, when it's next to other materials. So in terms of, so you've got an understanding, player character is about the size of this door. So it's about this high, so you can understand the scale of this environment. And normally the environments that we work on tend to be about 4 times to 5 times the size, and then we work on multiple of them. And this, for this file size alone, it's about 1 GB. But the other, you know, the other ones that we work on tend to get to around 7 GB. Very, very big files. And you know, on this, I'm running this on a laptop right now, and the graphics card is not very powerful. But because of the software, it allows us to work on things a lot bigger than they should be. All right. So that's a little bit of explanation about this setup that we've got. And I'm going to bring back the interface. It might get a little bit crowded. Let's see what do we have. All right. So one of the things about Substance Painter, it has another brother application called Substance Designer. And Substance Painter is there for artists to visually paint on what they see in the 3D space, as well as in the 2D space. Whereas the Substance Designer is for people to make actual materials. So the material that I'm talking about is, let's take for example this here. Actually, let's unlock this so you can see the shelf. Okay. So what you get is you get these kind of fancy materials inside Substance Painter, and you can just drag and drop them onto, you know, anything that you see there. So let's just throw this, and I'll just drag and drop the material so you can see what I mean. I'll create a new layer. Let me hide this. I'll create a new fill layer, and I'll just assign material to it. So let's go material mode, assign some gold. So it's very quick. You can quickly assign materials. And the way that you should really work with this software is you build up your own material database, and then you just drag and drop materials on them. So in this way, you can speed up your workflow. So we've made a ton of our own materials, and this being one of them. And one of the things that's also good about this software is once you've made a material that you like, so you've painted on it, you've got it all working nicely, you think, oh, that's perfect. You can say that it's what they call a smart material. Now, a smart material is think of it like a preset, like a playlist. So it remembers all the paint strokes that you've done, it remembers all the layer arrangements that you have, and you can reuse that again. So if let me give this a better name, let's call this demo. I'll right click on this, and I'll create a smart material. So what that does is it adds a smart material to your shelf that you can reuse now. So let's choose something else to reuse this on. Let's show everything again, and let's close that. I'll do this. Let's just choose. I'll choose the store. Okay. So I'll choose the store. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. Change the lighting so you can see a little bit better. And let's just group all of this stuff. I'll hide it. And let's find that material that I just created. So that was demo, right? And what I do is I just drag and drop that on the top here. And can see it's very quickly just textured the asset. Now, if you organize it in a better way, you can get that as a much better finish. And you're probably noticing, well, hang on a second, this bit's missing. What's going on here? Well, that's because what we're using is a material ID system. Hands up if you know what I mean by material ID. Anyone? Okay, no problem. So I'll just quickly show you what I mean by material ID. The material ID is basically you use simple colors to specify what a material is. So you would say white equals wood or black equals metal. So we assign this all to different parts of the environment. So let me pick this guy here. Take these electrical panels. Let's just zoom in a little bit closer. Alright, so I'm going to create a new layer here so you can see what's going to happen. And what I'll do in this new layer is I'll create a material, I'll create a mask with a color selection. And down here you can see there's a file called something GDC electronic wall panel underscore material ID. And if I choose pick a color, you'll see it goes to this kind of gray and white. In this case, in this scenario, for this asset, this light white area equals metal. This dark gray area equals plastic. So that means that we can make hundreds of metals, hundreds of plastics, and very quickly just put it on the model, and it will automatically know where to assign the correct material. So in this case, I'll just choose plastic, and I'll just very quickly, so you can see very obviously, that's right. So if I want to go a step further, I can then very quickly throw materials on that. Okay, because the time is short, I'm going to dive into a little bit about how we're using Substance Designer with Substance Painter. I mentioned before that we made our own materials. These materials look something like, let's take one of these guys. Let's take this. Alright, so we'll take this wall and add the rest. So what we have here is a material that we've made specifically just to have these kind of details. And to the bottom right here, you see that we have some options that we call parameters. And these parameters are split up by basic and advanced. For the advanced parameters, we've allowed the artist to be able to tweak their own how much dirt there is, how much leaking, where the line is placed, how much rust there is, and how much scratches there is. So, if I wanted to add more rust, what I do is I go in here and I'll start to slide this and there'll be more rust. If I didn't like where this line was, I could then slide this slider with the line. Or if I didn't like how wide it was, I could increase the width. So we expose a lot of these options for the artist so that they can very quickly take a material, one material, and you can potentially get 10, 20, 30 variations to make one asset look very, very different over multiple cases. So let's take a look at what one of these materials look like inside Substance Designer. Alright. So we're going to take another material, and these materials are the same ones that's used inside Substance Painter. And let's go a little bit closer to this guy. And I mentioned to you before about the resolution. So okay, so on the screen there, it's quite small. Hopefully you can see it, but it says 256 by 256. Now, if you were doing this in Photoshop and your boss came to you and said, "Hey, the resolution is too small. We need to increase the size," you'd be like, "Ah, damn it! I have to redo the whole thing again." But luckily, inside substance designer, you can very quickly, let me just fix this. You have to bear with me. Inside substance designer, you can very dynamically increase your resolution. So I'm going to increase this to 2K. And you can see now, like magic, it's now 2K. Now your resolution is higher. Inside substance designer, substance painter, you can go up to about 4K. I know that in the future they're going to go to 8K and hopefully 16K. There's been a lot more efforts made to make this software more suitable for real-time movies and CG. So what kind of parameters would be exposed for this particular material? Well, let's have a look. I'm going to go in a little bit closer, slow down, and all of these parameters are created by artists, I should say, created by Ishwan. And it's up to them what they want to expose. So in this particular case, we have a ton of parameters. We have something that we call pebbles. So if you start to increase that, you can add more pebbles to the asset. So you can see that very slowly kind of appearing there. If you want more moss, you can add more moss to it. If you want to change the color of the moss, you can very quickly change the color. You can change the brightness, the luminosity. There's a ton of options that we've made available for the artists. And all of these options are the same options that are available inside Substance Painter. And we also make these options available to the artists inside Unreal, inside Unity, and inside Monster Toolmat. So in that way, they can very quickly texture environments very quickly. So how is this made? This is made by using a combination of what we call nodes. So this small box here is what they call a node. And each node has either an input and an output, or one of each. And you connect these inputs and outputs together, and you decide how you want them to connect. So you go from an output of one node to an input of another node and say, hey, I want to take the color of this node and put it into the normal map of this one. That's how Substance works. So what you can see what Ishwan's done here is he started to create very simple, very basic nodes, and combining them together to get something very complex, like this albedo texture that you see right now. Now, you're probably looking at thinking, well, man, this is so complex, like it's, navigating and moving around is very difficult. So one of the things I always encourage my artists to do is, putting things like pin. These pin navigations help you to go from one place to another very quickly. So I'll just create 2 pins so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll call this one output. And all you do, once you've got your pins, if you press F2 on the keyboard, you can very quickly go from one point to another point. So this is very important because these nodes can get super, super complex. And for myself, when I have to look at another artist's work, it can be very confusing as to where to start. So let's have another look at another material. Let's take a look at the floor. So again, it's the same deal again. Let's just rotate the lighting. What you're looking at is a 256 by 256 texture resolution, just so that you guys can see it a little bit clearer. Let's just increase the resolution again. And let's have a look at what would be exposed for this particular material. So it's a 30 level, okay? And we have some of the tiling for the pills. This is what we're calling the pill. So if we increase the tiling, you can make it a completely different material just by adjusting some options. Let's make this, let's also make this 35, increase the tiling here. And we expose the circle so we can increase the circle size of the edges. We want to get something a little bit different. And scratches, everyone likes scratches, so let's add a ton in. So now we get a very different material very quickly. So these are the things that really, really help save our artists time as well as the company money. So let's jump back into Substance Painter. And let me talk about. Okay, actually, I'm going to jump back into the let me show you this material. So that was the one I just showed you in design. This is the one I showed you in design. This is the one I showed you in designer, so I can just show you the same options again that you saw in designer, but this time inside Painter, so you can see how this is working. So the floor, one. Just 1 second. Is it the trees on the side? Sorry, I was just choosing over. Alright, so let's take this board, it's another concrete board, and just get a better angle of the lighting. Okay, and let's see what we have here. So this is another one of our materials. Again, this is the last one. I'll expose the, so we've got linking, so we'll just add a few more links on here, and you can see it's getting a little bit more brighter, and let's make the roughness a little bit higher to make it even more wet if we want. So we can do a lot of really powerful things with Substance Painter and Substance Designer. Okay, and you heard my colleagues earlier mention things about the advancements in real-time rendering, and one of the cool things is, I think you all know NVIDIA, iRay, well, in Substance Painter, now they've got iRay in real time, so you can easily switch over to the iRay rendering, and hopefully it will work on my laptop. Let's see what we have. Yeah, there we go. So this is kind of almost like film or CG grade real-time rendering and production. I think the lighting is a little bit sucky, so I'm going to try to boost up the exposure. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'll show you that today. So let me jump back into my presentation. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to summarize some things to note about this particular workflow. It does require you to rethink the way that you model and rethink the way that you do your UVs. You couldn't use your own way, you couldn't use the way that you did on PS1 or PS2. You have to have really good planning. You have to know your production pipeline really well and make some adjustments to your own workflow if you want to take advantage of this. Make sure you've got good naming, because some of the stuff that you name inside your 3D application for the materials is going to transfer over to Substance Painter, so you need to make sure you have good naming. There's some navigation issues, but that's being improved. When I say navigation, I'm talking about zooming in, zooming out. That's because no one had been really testing this software for making environments. And luckily, we've been doing that, and Allegorithimic are now making some updates to their software based on some of the way that we've been working on it. And if you don't know how to use Substance Designer, at least try and learn. It's a really good way to allow you to make some really amazing and advanced materials. Just think of it that when you make one material or one texture, you're able to get 5, 10 different variations. This is going to save you time and save you money. And really get used to using smart materials inside Substance Painter. If you don't know what they are, there's a lot of YouTube movies on the internet. Watch them. There's a lot of cool guys, a lot of great talent out there sharing what they know and their skills and expertise. If you go into the Polycount forums, then you can find a ton of posts about Substance Designer and Substance Painter. If you don't know what physically based texturing is or physically based rendering is, I advise you to at least read up on it, learn it, and try to understand how it works. And although I want to add one more thing, I've been showing you this workflow on realistic environments, but this can also be applied to stylized environments. So this is an example of a recent game released for iOS and Android. It's a game called Dragonland, and they use Substance Designer for their assets. So, quick example, you can see what they're doing is they're very quickly just adjusting how much bricks, how much stones they want in the environment. This is all on a mobile device. This is all runtime. This is all taken from the Unity browser. There's 2 reasons why they do this. One is so that they can get more variety, more variation very quickly. And the second one is that when you use Substance Designer files, the actual file size itself is about 50% to 70% smaller than if you use real textures like PNG or TGA. Why is that important? That's because if someone's downloading your game from the App Store over Wi-Fi, then you want to keep your file size as small as possible. If you can save 50% from your file size just on these assets, you're going to be able to allow people to download your game faster and maybe even over Wi-Fi, because there is, even over 4G cellular data, because there tends to be limitations by Apple and Android over how much you can download using cellular data versus using Wi-Fi. And this picture of Ishwan and Ayla, they're standing next to one of the senior artists at Monitor. They just finished doing a presentation for Uncharted 4. I think we've still got some time for questions. You can say your questions in Chinese. I think someone will help me to translate. Any questions? Anything I said?
他如果说他现在专用一个技术或软体去开发的时候，如果说用到别的技术或是软体，把它绑在在一起的时候，这样的一个如果说要达到某个效果或目的，可以回馈一下这样的一个应用技术。
I think the question basically means is Substance Painter or Substance Designer work well with other authoring tools and other like artistic tools?
Yes. You can use the Substance Designer files directly inside Unity, Unreal, Maya, 3D Max. There's a ton of software. And even if it does not work the way you would like it to work, you can export the results as textures. You can export them as a PSD file, JPEG file, PNG, whatever, and then you can import it into the software if you're choosing. So the answer is yes.
就是基本上他是这个Solomon提到，就是说这个 Substance Painter 跟 Designer 这些的软体是可以跟目前所有既有主流的，包括就是像因为提过 Unreal 这种就是 authoring tool， 或者是像3D Max、Maya 这些3D 软体都可以合作，然后包括它的素材，像刚才素材是等于是可以光看调整的，但是你也可以把它输出成静态的贴图。对，所以你如果真的遇到一些比如说软体组合上的问题的话，应该也可以用最原始的方式，还是可以输出你想要的效果。Blender does that work? Blender is 可以用 Blender。最后一个问题吧，因为时间不够。
就是很不幸的，我有2个问题。第一个问题是刚才你讲到说 Substance 它可以把档案变得很小。那我有个问题是，如果我把一张假设1MB大小的图片放到 Substance 变成 Material 之后，它仍然会比1MB还要小吗？
对不起，帮我放一下。
Chinese asking the question is really silly. But yeah, so the question is, if you output the Substance Painter results to JPG or like other like static format, does that still save you the storage?
No.
Yeah.
If you want to take full advantage of it, use the actual Substance Designer SPSAR file format inside Unity or Unreal, and you'll save space.
So I had that backwards, sorry. So the question is, if when you're using Substance Painter, you have a source material, right? Source texture. But if that source texture is already very big, like a 1 MB texture or something, and file or something?
Okay, I understand the question. So, from what I understand is that, say for example, you take a photograph, and you use that inside Substance Painter or Designer, would it help you to reduce the size? No, it won't. So that's why you see that in the examples that I showed you, we recreated everything directly inside Designer so that we can take advantage of those file sizes. It's okay to use photographs, it's perfectly okay. You just have to bear that in mind that you'll lose some of the other features if you want to use that.
还有第二个问题，第二个问题是，很显然它在游戏里面呈现那些画面出来的时候，它需要经过大量的运算才可以算出那一张最后的 material 的 output。那我想要知道的是 ，OK， 我们现在已经知道说我们用 Substance 可以把档案变得很小，那换来的是什么？是在效能上面会有很大的损失吗？是在哪一个阶段？是我们在游戏打开的时候，它在 loading 那些素材到运算的程序的时候，这个时候它会花很多时间吗？还是在玩的过程当中，在执行的过程当中，它会一面的去算那些画面出来？那这些的效果、这些代价到底是多少？那怎么去评估？
So what is the main performance impact for using Substance Painter? Because you are literally generating textures. Just in time, right? Yeah, on one time. And so how do you assess those performance impacts?
Really depends on the game you're working on. If you're talking about the performance impact when you're working on it inside the software itself, it's really depending on your graphics card and your PC setup.
And you say when player plays their games,
Oh, player won't know the same thing. What happens is that, take for example Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4, 90% of the environments and characters made use of Substance Designer. That actually means that they can get their 50 GB file down from 50 GB to something like 20 GB. That's a faster, quicker download time. That's great for the player. It means he can play the game quicker. The other thing as well is that when they are playing the game, when they're shooting or climbing, there's no effect on the performance at all. They can still experience the full game. It just means that they can save more space on their PlayStation 4, on their PC. They can play the game quicker, and the quality can be scaled dynamically, so that they can go to 8K if they want to, 4K if they want to. There's a lot of advantages that the players will not notice, but it will improve their